Hello everyone, hello again. This is my next video on my request list, and this is how the Life Path 5 works, or how the Life Path 5 is supported when you have a motivation and drive in the number 6. Now, the issue I see straight away when it comes to your drive and motivation is that as a Life Path 5, you're here to really, it's more about you than it is other people or changing the world. It's more about you developing your mastery and communicating your mastery to audiences. But the Soul Urge 6 is going to draw you to home and nurture and caring for others. So as you can see, these are two fairly incongruent numbers when it comes to progressing the Life Path 5. So what you're going to find as a Soul Urge number 6 is that you might find yourself doing too much for other people and almost, I know this sounds terrible, but almost caring too much about making the world a better place than supporting your own self and developing your own mastery and your own communication. So as I go forward, I'm going to blend these two numbers. Now, before I move on to looking at the Life Path 5, the all-important number in your chart, and how the Soul Urge number 6 manages it, I just want to let you know, I received my author copies today. You can tell I'm excited, can't you? For my second book, and here they are. I've taken a lovely picture of both my books that are now on Amazon. So if you're looking to having a deeper knowledge of how all the numbers blend together, maybe you want to be a numerology reader yourself, maybe you want to be able to look at the purpose and talents of the people in your family and the people that are around you. These books are going to help you not only know your purpose in detail, element by element, but in the second book, how you can use your talents to support that purpose and where your issues might be. Now, there's a lot of people learning on my Udemy courses, especially my Master Udemy course, and these books are the best support for the master course on Udemy. It's like a support text, if you will. But if you're just interested in numerology, not as a reader, but as for yourself, these books are also useful for you. So all you got to do is search on Amazon for these the titles, or you could just search on my author name, which will bring both copies up. Sorry about if there's any noise on the speaker. The computer's decided to make a big whirring noise, so I hope that's not affecting your listening pleasure too much. Anyway, let's move on to the reason that I made this video. Now, when you're a Life Path 5, this is your areas of development. This has got to be your focus. This has got to be your priority, okay, in this lifetime. And remember, it's not always meant to be easy. There's always hurdles to jump over, as there will be having a drive or motivation number in 6, because as you can see, they're next to each other, these numbers. So they often have very different attributes. So sometimes you're going to want to be around home and other people, when really you should be working on your own mastery and the communication of that mastery and the presentation and expression of that mastery, whether it be verbally or in writing. So you're here to engage, first of all, as a 5, in varied experience, even adventure, so that you look at all these different areas and think, what really got me from what I was looking into? What really got me from my research? What experience do I want to develop or take further, or even develop a mastery in, which is the ultimate aim? It's finding your passion. It's looking at your choices, experiencing as much as you can, and then finding that passion and working with discipline towards developing a mastery in that passion to achieve your own independence and your own personal freedom. Now, the Soul Urge 6 is about making other people's lives better and supporting other people as well as your own, but this is about your own personal freedom. You've got to learn as well, though, to balance your need for adventure and variation, because even when you find your mastery, that need for adventure and change will never leave you. So as you find your mastery, you will need to be able to balance that need for adventure and variation with focus and discipline, not only on your mastery, but also your family. So the Soul Urge 6 will help you in certain ways. You'll be really good with family. In fact, as a Soul Urge 6, you'll be better at discipline and family maybe than you will be at actually going on the adventure and finding what your passion is in the first place, because the Soul Urge number 6 can be very cautious. So you've got to learn to focus as a Life Path 5, to commit to one passion, one mastery, to achieve freedom via deep focus and discipline. Develop that communication to be more charismatic and confident, be more fearless, and encourage others to be more fearless in their communication. The 5 is about being able to express their mastery to the world, whether they do it as a writer, whether they tell stories, or whether they speak, or whether they teach, or whether they're just an entrepreneur in their mastery. That's what the Life Path 5 is here to achieve. And it's all going to depend on what you're interested in and what sort of lines you want to go down. Now, as a life, you might find Soul Urge number 6 push finding a mastery that looks after us. Soul Urge 6 is very much about making the world a better place, a vision of the ideal world where everybody is looked after, a passionate dreamer of the utopian world. You want to create, as a Soul Urge 6, a better world with your utopian ideals. You're driven to reconcile your ideals with practical reality, though, by acting out your ideals daily, practically. I mean, you know what's feasible and what isn't when you're a Soul Urge 6, because you're very practical in your application, or you want to be. For example, you want to manifest your ideas by nurturing the less fortunate or that are vulnerable in your family or community. And you want to care for others. You're very warm and compassionate, and you're a team worker, you're talkative, you make friends easily, and this is what you want to be. You're much about the people around you. Obviously, whether you can make friends easily or not, first of all, will depend on your talent numbers and how much you involve yourself in social activities. So this is, remember, all about what you want. You want to be around others more. You want to look after others. So in some ways that disrupts your Life Path 5, because the Life Path 5 is all about developing you and your mastery and communicating your mastery to the masses. And yet your Soul Urge number wants you to just be around your friends and family and love everyone around you. But you could blend the two, you know, finding your passion and mastery in a subject that looks after others, you know, could be a great way of merging the two. Anyway, let's move on to how these two numbers break down and work together. So the Life Path number 5 is here to look at the worlds with the eyes of a child. They're easily bored. They want to look at and study loads of different topics. Initial varied experience is needed by them, like I said, because you don't know what to choose for your passion if you haven't experienced anything. You know, how do you know what you like if you've never done it? So initial varied experience is needed in order for you to choose your specialism, your passion, your mastery. So you're here to learn to find that passion and then be disciplined on that passion, to continue with a topic or activity or task or mastery, whatever that may be, beyond the initial scraping of the surface that you often do, to the detail, to the mastery level, to the boredom of the detail that the 5 often avoids. So it's asking you to go a bit deeper into your passions and interests. And then that passion, that discipline will come as specialism, and then a mastery. And that mastery is what's going to help you as a 5 to bring you personal freedom, because when you're a master of all of you purvey, when you're a master of your subject, you have more personal freedom in life, and you will find that follow this path. Your 6 motivation energy means your study or your variation of looking at the world. You know, the 5s love to learn. So if you're going to use that element of loving to learn, you're going to look at stuff that centers around your ideals, or causes that help those less fortunate in your community. For example, if you're passionate about bringing water wells to Africa, you're going to have a lot of information, and you might research a lot of things on how to do that, how best to raise funds. So you're very much a learner, and as a Soul Urge 6, it's going to be a lot on things that help other people, because you're driven by your ideals, very idealistic, nurturing, love to create peace and security. And the 5 is about being a bit more adventurous. So you can see where there can be a little bit of an issue here, where the 6 can sometimes not experience what they should experience because they want to stay home, basically. So as a passionate 6, your mastery could be built via practical experience rather than book study, to be perfectly honest. But to support your life path 5, your focus, study and mastery is important. You need to focus on an area, maybe an area of idealistic nurture that matches your motivation number. It's up to you totally. But what's important here for you is finding that focus, that mastery, that specialism to support your life path 5, to start you on the trip towards mastery. Very important. You're here to develop, as I've said, the ability to balance your mastery and your stability that you will need through your mastery with that need for adventure and variety that is never going to leave you. Because, you know, you've got to be able to balance the two, because a 5 that isn't disciplined or can't settle is going to be totally spontaneous and take unthought out risks, jumping from one experience to another, but never really settling and progressing, like bouncing around the world, trying everything, but never really settling, like a hobo. And the Soul Urge 6 is all about settling. It's all about wanting to settle. So change and adventure is going to be a bit of an issue when it comes to motivation for this person. The adventure that they need and the experience they need as a 5. A Soul Urge 6 can be motivated to hold themselves back. They're driven to want to settle with family and peace and stability. They want to choose a home. They want to feel stable. And they prefer peace over change, adventure and risk. So your life path 5 will need you to be more experienced. A lot of, say, if you were a Soul Urge 3, you'd really be driven to more of the adventure, and you'd really struggle to settle because you just wouldn't want to. But the 6 is really going to help you to settle. But where it might tip a bit far, obviously you've got to put your other numbers into account. But where your motivation might tip a bit too far is it might be towards safety rather than adventure and risk and trying new things. So it's important to support your life path 5 that you experience those new things and be a bit more fearless, as the 5 needs you to be fearless, not fearful, and encourage other people to be fearless too. Choose your passion, focus, and then settle, but have that balance. Still be able to experience the world in the adventure as you need to experience as a 5. Extremely intuitive, so important for a 5, and this is where the Soul Urge number 6 is going to be quite useful, because the Soul Urge number 6 isn't overly intuitive as such, but they are very sensitive to the needs of others, and they would use their maybe intuition and practical senses, because they're kind of a mix of the two, a motivated 6. They want to help people in many, many, many ways. So the motivated 6 is going to want to do this element of their life path because it's about being more intuitive. And when you're more intuitive, you can assess the needs of others better. And that's where the Soul Urge 6 will want to use their intuition. But for a 5, it's about being intuitive when it comes to making sensible decisions and taking intuitive and sensible risks, not risks that are going to cause you problems and make you dependent. So remember, the 5 is more about themselves, and there's nothing wrong with that. We need a bit of self-service, because if we all didn't do any focus on ourselves, no one would get anywhere. We'd all be just running after each other, trying to take care of each other. So it's lovely to be someone that is here to care for others, but not everybody is here to care for others. And as a 5, you're not here to care for others. You're here to be intuitive, to kind of serve your own needs. I mean, you can use it in social situations to help you connect with other people, but the main focus of developing your intuition as a 5 is to make decisions, assessing people and situations so that you can move forward and progress in your mastery and your communication. Your 6 motivation energy means that you want to use your intuition to be sensitive to the needs of others. I always jump ahead. Your interest in worldly ideals could get in the way because you're thinking about other people rather than your own mastery, unless your mastery is about thinking of other people. Okay, if you can blend the two, you're laughing. So support your life path 5 by answering that drive you have to develop that spiritual awareness. Okay, it's really important for you. Your gut feelings, your inner voice. Learn to listen and trust and follow the intuitive voice within you. And trust that wisdom is sound and act on it. It's very important, and it will serve you well as a 5. You're here to develop your ability to attain inner and outer freedom. I mean, the 5 is all about being free. But the problem with that is we often don't know what being free is. We think, oh, being free is doing what I want. But you've got to think about that. Because if I did what I wanted every day, I wouldn't have any money to be free. I certainly, if I was doing numerology all day, I certainly would. But if I was doing my other job, if I did everything I wanted, I'd be eating loads of chocolate and probably be made myself sick by now and be in hospital or all sorts of issues. So we don't always know what we want. And sometimes what we think we want does not bring us freedom. In fact, it brings us illness. I mean, I might decide I want all the money in the world, so I'm going to go and try and rob a bank. Well, that's not going to bring me freedom, is it? That's just going to bring me into a little room with bars on it. So we're not sure. We're here to achieve freedom, but of course we're going to struggle with that. We don't always know what freedom is. Well, life path 5s especially struggle with the concept of freedom. And they don't realise that freedom is about discipline. Freedom isn't about just doing what you want. You know, freedom brings responsibility as well at the end of the day. So you've got to attain that inner and outer freedom by doing things sometimes that you might not initially want to do, which seems to go counterintuitive to freedom. Because, as I've said, doing what you want isn't necessarily freedom, because we can actually become a slave to our desires. Somebody might want to keep taking drugs, but they're a slave to their own addiction, and they might choose and want to do it, but it's not necessarily, and in fact it's never going to bring them any freedom. It's only going to bring them degradation and at worst death. So 5s have really got to be careful on their concept of freedom, because they can pull themselves down by being rebellious, getting themselves in trouble, getting themselves incarcerated or in hospital or worse. So the important thing is, while I keep rabbiting on, is freedom and discipline are inherently linked. And that freedom will come to you via that discipline and that mastery, because then you will be able to choose freely what you want, and then you're going to choose more sensibly because you don't feel you're fighting or rebelling against anything. Your 6 motivation or passion means that you prefer to be compliant. This could be quite helpful at times because it's safe, it's cautious, and it's mindful of the people around them, which is what I've said a soul urge wants at 6, always wants to help people, because the soul urge 6's drive to help, to consider others. It's great and it's lovely, but it's going to stifle your own freedom and mastery, unless of course that mastery is linked to helping others. It's important that your own mastery and personal freedom comes first, because you're a 5. You know, you're a motivated 6. You're not a life path 6. It's important that you keep that in mind. You're more likely to ignore your desires, which is a good thing at times, because the soul urge 6 can sometimes put themselves last far too much. But you're more likely as a soul urge 6 to consider the desires of others and not just yourselves, and less likely maybe to become a slave to those selfish desires that a 5 can. So support that life path 5. It's really important that you set strict boundaries on your service to others, because it's not your path. Okay. Obviously connecting with family, and you need balance with connecting with your family, but your soul urge 6 is going to make you, it's going to push you hard towards caring for others and might stifle your 5-ness that you're here to develop. So strict boundaries on your service to others, family first, I guess, so that you have enough resources emotionally, mentally and time-wise and practically to focus on and prioritize your own desires, passions, discipline, mastery towards your own personal freedom. This is the path you're here to walk. So it's developing that verbal and written. On some 5s choose verbal or some choose written, some do both. It's up to you what medium you choose as a 5. If as a soul urge number 6, you might be more tilted towards writing, because a motivated 6 doesn't like standing in front of people and talking. No, they love being around others, but being the centre of attention is not a motivator for a 6. So they might like to write more. I mean, it doesn't mean they won't get up on a stage or speak to people or teach or be verbal. It's just they're more likely to be a bit less motivated to be the centre of attention. So as a 5, you're here to learn to develop your verbal and your written communication. Both is good. And develop them towards confident, charismatic sharing of your mastery, of your ideas, all relating to your mastery and your specialism, because you're here to develop a huge potential to be a great communicator, storyteller, speaker, someone that can engage an audience. So your 6 passion and motivation means you're happy to communicate verbally to close friends and family and community and your team. Excuse me. But as I've just said, because I repeat myself, because I get ahead of myself, you may not be so driven to communicate with new people or write, as I did say writing, but you are practical. So this one's hard. Maybe, I don't know, the practicality of the 6 might even get in the way of the writing as well, but it certainly might get in the way of communicating with a wider audience. So as a 6, you might have to sort of get more confident when it comes to being the centre of attention, and your intuition should help you with that, because when you feel intuitively confident, that should support your confidence to be able to communicate to the groups of people that you need to communicate with. You do prefer to be practical as a 6, but if you had a choice between the two, I'm sure it would be writing over speaking to groups. But developing that motivation into something that isn't a problem to you would be useful. So to support that Life Path 5, it's important that you develop your verbal communication, not just to the people around you, but to a wider audience, and your written communication skills to help you share your stories and your mastery with that wider audience and not just with the lucky people that are around you. You're here to learn to be committed and dependable. Remember, you tend to scratch the surface over many subjects when you're a 5. And you're here to find that mastery, that discipline, to commit, to be dependable to the mastery and anything that's linked to that mastery. Because, you can be a bit skittish and scattered, and you can often forget what you promise and be disorganized, chaotic, changeable, and unable to focus on anything in any depth, which is really going to disrupt your mastery to a great degree. And it means that you're not dependable to those around you at times. So your 6 motivation, your drive here, means that you want to be committed and dependable. This is where some elements of the Soul Urge 6 are going to be really helpful to you. Sometimes it might push you to be too committed and too dependable, and you're going to have to balance that, because remember, you are a 5 and you're only here to be committed and dependable to your mastery and your family and everything linked to your mastery. You've got to be careful how much you commit and be dependable to, otherwise you're going to burn out. Okay, so finding that balance is vital, because you really like to be committed and dependable when you're a motivated 6. And it's very much to your family and community, your friends, the people that you know and love. You're driven to be relied upon, to do what you promise, which is going to help your forgetfulness in the 5. Let's hope it doesn't overpower it. It will certainly help it, but don't let your service to others overpower that. It's a balancing act. Okay, so you could balance your forgetfulness with your Soul Urge 6. Okay, support your Life Path 5 then by developing your chaos into order. Okay, more dependability, more commitment, but remember, it's got to be linked to that mastery. You must learn to be organised, committed, responsible and dependable to gain that mastery and personal freedom that you are here to achieve. You're here to develop your charismatic social skills, because you're here to communicate. And how can you communicate with others if nobody wants to listen to you because of your lack of verbal skill or your lack of ability to write? You need to develop that. So social skills, your ability to make connections, develop relationships with others, being positive and optimistic and drawing people towards you rather than what you can be as quite a drama queen, bit uptight, bit argumentative, likes to create a bit of drama, when what you're here to do is actually have charismatic social skills that actually can help you communicate your message to people and to a wider audience. Your 6 motivation energy is going to be helpful here because you love to socialise. 6s love to be around other people. They love to be around family and friends and work with close teams. They're driven to be warm and compassionate and emotional and fun-loving. And they love to help others. They're the sensible one. They like to be the sensible one, always wanting to be the advisor and the counsellor of the group. However, sometimes, you know, unless you're fully developed and fully reconciled your ideals, those that outwardly oppose your ideals may not feel your warmth quite so easily. And make sure that this warmth and helping of others, again for the 59,000th time, doesn't overpower your 5 path, which is your own mastery. So support your life path 5 by extending your hand, your warmth, your humour to everyone, not just those that share your ideals, because you're here to share a message to the world. And it's important that you can communicate that message in all ways, whether it be to groups on a stage, whether it be social, whether it be words in a book. It's important that the 5 learns to develop that communication in some way so that their mastery can be spread to those wider audiences. You're here to develop consistent independence, because a 5, they can be quite risky. They can swing from independence to dependence and back again. They're the sort of person that's very entrepreneurial, and the 5 is here to be quite entrepreneurial, but they can swing from independence and dependence and back again with harebrained ideas, or they can fly off in one direction, then they've made silly mistakes or taken silly risks and it's all gone wrong, and they're back in the dependent stage again. So risky behaviour, get rich quick schemes, this can often bring on the dependence that the life path 5 fears. They want to be free, they want to do their own thing, they do not want to be dependent. So they're always taking risk to try and gain that personal freedom rather than using their discipline and mastery. But as long as that risk taking is linked to progression of their mastery, and they're taking intuitive risks, then risk is needed for progression. You have to take risks to progress, unfortunately. The good thing is that the 5 can be intuitive about it and take intuitive risks. But what do you want to do? As a motivation 6, you love to help others a lot, which can cause others to depend on you too much. So you fear dependence, but you can get others quite dependent on you. You're driven to be far too responsible sometimes and really overpower that 5. Too safe. To progress, you need to have a bit of risk taking within you. You're not one to get embroiled in any risky schemes, which is going to possibly stop you from becoming too dependent on others, which in some ways is a good thing, because if you're not getting involved in risky schemes, you're less likely to crash and burn and then end up being dependent again. So it can bring some balance to your own dependence, but you can do too much for others. So there's still an imbalance in the giving and the receiving with these 2 numbers. By the way, you're going to hate to take any risk at all. So the 5 that wants to progress is going to struggle with their motivation in the 6. They're going to be quite fearful and want to be safe more than risky. So big help's going to be needed there to push yourself to take some intuitive risks. Support your life path 5. First of all, develop balance, give and take, interdependence, not you doing too much or ending up becoming dependent yourself. Take intuitive risks to progress. You need to, because you won't go forward and you won't achieve without taking some risks when it comes to developing and communicating your mastery to the world. You're here to develop that fearlessness. The motivation 6 can make you so fearful, and you're here as a 5 to be fearless. So this is going to be a hurdle. Depending on your talent numbers, the expression and your maturity, your intensifiers, your motivation might not really want to be fearless. So you're here to learn to develop your fearlessness. But not only that, to help others to be a bit more fearless too. Because you can be fearful of many things as a 5. And then the 6, motivation, won't help that really. Restriction and boredom is one of your biggest fears, actually. Being dependent, being restricted, being bored, you can be fearful of. You can be fearful of the adventure and the experience that you're here to actually experience in this world. And it can hold you back. You need to challenge yourself past your own comfort zone to be fearless. And then express that to help other people become fearless. But your drive and motivation means you don't really want to be brave, really. You want to be safe and you want to be peaceful. You're driven to be cautious, often even anxious, always worried. What if this happens? What if that happens? You want to have a contingency for anything that might happen. And you will choose at times not to take risks because of fear of leaving your comfort zone. And this can really be another stumbling block for you if you let your motivation to be safe overpower your 5. Use it to balance your 5 recklessness, but don't let it overpower your 5 recklessness. You need a balance, and your intuition is really going to help you with that. So it'll be difficult because this is another big hurdle for you with these 2 numbers in your chart. By breaking out of that comfort zone, being intuitively braver, taking intuitive risks, trust your inner voice more and go for it. You might not always get the results you expect, but there's always a lesson embedded in everything you do. And follow that intuition, take those risks. You're not going to progress to be fearless or an entrepreneur or progress your mastery without having an element of fearlessness about you. So there's going to be some hurdles here when it comes to being braver. So making good use of your energy. 5 can be here, there and everywhere, and they can bounce on every wall and use up all their energy, just bouncing from here to there to everywhere, not actually achieving anything. So you're here to learn to make good use of your energy, to push your energy into good directions. Because if you feel restricted, or if you restrict yourself from low confidence, you're going to be restless. And you're going to turn into a bit of a drama queen because of all this energy and drive that you're not using. And it's got to be used because you're here to experience. You're here to be a bit more adventurous, be a bit more courageous, find your mastery, get out there, use your energy wisely. Often 5s do not use their energy and drive wisely. So this is an important element for you. So your 6 motivation energy means that you want to be settled, you want to focus your energy and drive into meaningful, practical, nurturing, world-changing. Remember, you're very idealistic and visionary in your motivation and drive. It's what you love. You love to care and advise and counsel, and you love to be at home with family. You love beauty and fashion and comfort and peace and aesthetics and music and just feeling settled and comfortable and lovely. So to support your life path 5, you need to be a bit more self-focused when it comes to your own experience and learning from that experience, your own adventure and learning from that adventure, your own communication with others and learning via that communication. And then use all that experience to help you choose, to help you find your passion, your mastery, and then focus that drive, focus that energy onto that mastery, but leaving a little bit aside for you to actually have that adventure, to have that experience. And don't let fearfulness hold you back, because all these elements link together, and they all support each other. And fearlessness is sometimes going to get in the way here of you using your energy in the right way. And if you're not putting your energy in the correct directions, you could end up getting yourself in trouble or end up not progressing or doing anything at all. So putting your energy and drive into your mastery, into meaningful action, into even travel and adventure, using that energy, experiencing and getting out there. It's very, very important for you as a 5. And it's important that you don't let fear and your need to be at home hold you back from that experience, from that mastery. Because you could be an entrepreneur and you could bring yourself personal freedom from your mastery and your ability to be an entrepreneur around that mastery and communicate your mastery to the world. This is what you're here to do as a 5. Now, I hope you found this video really useful today. Don't forget, my books are on sale now, but I've also got courses on Udemy. So all those connections and links to my books are going to be in the description box. If you'd like to book a reading with me, please contact me on social media. In fact, send me an email. I'm going to see it quicker if you send me an email, but you could contact me through Facebook or through messages on my videos. So, have I missed out anything I need to say to you? No. Keep learning, keep speaking to me, keep communicating with me. Request any readings you want. Request any videos you'd like to request. Have a little look at my books or even learn a couple of my courses. I'd love to communicate and know more about you. But as ever, don't matter what I say even, because it's the soul within you that should take precedence over everything. Only do what your intuition tells you to do. See you soon.